Alright, hey guys, so I want to do a quick video about the real difference between the Bluetooth Wi-Fi only and the LTE version in very depth. Now, you guys are gonna like this, so without further ado, let's get into it. Now, first and foremost, the thing that stood out to me was the band. Now, let me explain something here. This watch is mainly being sold by Samsung. Like, you have to get it directly from Samsung or whatever way you get this watch. It is kind of a direct sell from Samsung. But if you were to go for a watch that was been later released to be an LTE capable, they're sort of I call it industrial. Like, it's like there's a lot of quantity that needs to be sold. So they didn't focus so much on the packaging per se. They were just mainly being pushed out to get, sold. So now this on this hand, on the right side is the Wi-Fi only. So the thing that stood out to me is how quality is the whole packaging, and the band itself was amazing. Now I already swapped the band with this one, so I'm going to show you the only difference I noticed, and that is if you were to look at the band with the clip, see how hard this thing rotates? But on this one, so this band belongs to the LTE. Now, the only difference you're gonna visibly see, it's going to be this letter here, which it says, I'm trying to zoom in here. Okay, so it says IB. See? IB. But on the cheap version, the LTE, it just says number 14. You see? Now, I know it sounds like being nitpicky, but I kid you not, even when you wear it, it feels better. Like, the holes are much finer when the clasp goes in. It's much finer for the hand to rest in. Now, I know most people are going to switch the bands anyway, so I personally did not see any differences between the rotation or the buttons, thank God. But I mean, yeah, there's no difference between them. So what is the other stuff? The boxes. Now, with the box of the Wi-Fi only, you get this amazing presentation when you get the watch, such as the watch will be in such a way where it presents itself to you. As you can see, it shows that it is being made to look like a watch first, which it actually is. I mean, having the capability of using it as a Wi-Fi, it's a good option, which I will get into it later on, but it's not bad. So what more about it? Now, see, the difference is on this one, I mean, it looks like a toilet seat to me. A piece of cardboard box. And the material that they actually use, like the cable, it's much cheaper. Like, you can feel that it's cheaper, just it was been pushed out. Even the charger itself, you know what? I'm gonna show you. So I have the Wi-Fi only charger, which means the good quality, and I have the regular, the LTE. Now, on the sorry, I switched them. I'm trying to zoom in, man. I don't know why this thing is not focusing. Alright, so on a good quality, once you rub your finger against these letters, it feels flush, and it kind of sense that this made by a proper tool. But on the cheaper version, again the LTE, you can feel it. I mean, in fact, if I rub against it hard, I think I'm gonna peel off these letters. So that's another thing. Moving on to the charging Cradle itself. Now, on the good one, and I'm talking about the Wi-Fi only, the Cradle comes in with this piece of plastic, which is actually a sort of an oily coat on it that feels good in the hand. So it's gonna look like so. And also, one interesting fact about it is that it's magnetized to the bottom of this. There's a piece of magnet in the bottom, so if you were to place it against this plate, you can lift off the whole thing. So when you get the watch, you're basically gonna get such a view. Let me show. And yes, you are able to charge while that plastic thing is in the bottom, and personally I kind of like that there is such a thing. Now, again, this may sound like a super nitpicky, but if I were to put this aside and use the one from the cheaper version, I just want you to notice something. With that one, I'm able to place it and lift it. But with this one, it's loose. Like, you can feel that it's loose. So, I would say the fault is because of these plastics that they use. It made it a little fatter, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Moving on. Now, on a standalone version, there is the Samsung Pay. Now, many people, I'm sure about this one, they do not know that you can only do few purchases, as in like 5 purchases, and after that, according to their website, you need to resync the watch with the phone that it was been paired with, so that it'll update itself, send all the promos and all the information back to the phone, and the phone is going to update all the information on the website, the Samsung Pay. So here's the thing. What if there's no phone? So you can only pay 5 times and that's it? You see, it defeats the purpose of Samsung Pay right there. And that's why I purchased the LTE. I knew having that extra option. Now, I'm not gonna apply the antenna all the time. In fact, I might actually disconnect this watch, but knowing that I have that extra option kind of gave me a good reason why I should move on from this to that. So this one can connect itself to the internet through the SIM card, through the virtual number or whatever, but it can update all its purchase information through the internet. And right there, I haven't tested fully because I kind of reset this whole watch, but I might actually do it tomorrow because there's a hassle with sorry about that. Yeah, there's a hassle with getting the credit cards assigned to them, because apparently once you want to switch, it'll remove all the Samsung Pay credit cards from the phone. So it's like you can only use one, maybe? I haven't dug deep into it because I didn't have them both next to each other. However, I will give that a test. Other than that, oh my god, the menu on this one is much better on the LTE. Let me just bring it down. I mean, you get all your notifications. Come on, you get all your notifications up there. I mean, it looks better. It looks different. Much more command ready rather than just being a watch. So I would say you will not go wrong if you were to go with this, because it'll just provide you with more power. And I am happy with this one rather than that one if I were to only use it as a watch. Of course, every carrier has their own way of having the phone number sync with your, your main number that you have, but we all know how that works. You have to call them, sync the number, pay an additional fee from 10, 15 bucks, whatever have you. Now, in terms of memory, they're identical. I'm hoping on that. I mean, you guys can go ahead and do your search online. But in terms of sizes, they're the same. However, I noticed I was pushing a lot of updates and files into it, and this watch actually overheated. And it prompts a message of overheating. It's gonna turn into brick. It might slow down, blah blah blah. But I didn't experience it on this one, mainly because, again, it's just a watch. It was not been designed to do as much things as this one can do. Now, both of them have only the 2.5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, so don't expect such a fast internet connection through them anyway. Now, I would like to take a moment and point out something about the Samsung Pay again, the way you should set it up. Now, I know most people are just gonna hold the button, pull up that Samsung Pay, and then press on add a credit card. Here's the thing. I'm not saying that's the incorrect way, but don't do it if you're using Samsung Pay in your current phone, because what's going to happen is that your phone is going to actually import all those credit cards to the watch. And by the way, not the gift cards, so it's only going to be the credit cards. And what's going to happen then is that you just need to verify the credit cards, and by doing like calling the bank. If you're lucky, you might only get to sign on your phone physically, and the card will be verified. Now, when I was setting up the credit card on the Wi-Fi only, it actually activated all the cards without calling the bank. But somehow on the LTE, and that's sort of I have a feeling that this is less secure. You actually have to call them because they did not verify automatically. You actually get the message that you need to call the bank. Oh, and by the way, before I forget, you can actually turn the stand, the box, into a wireless charging pad for your watch. I mean, to me it sounds, a little cheap, but then again, it's not that bad either. I mean, you got the Samsung logo right there. So the way it happens is that you have to push that wire into this hole, stick it out of this hole, plug it behind it, and then just put it down. And it should stay stable, since the wire is going to force it to stand on one position. But you will not get that option on the LTE model, because again, to me it looks like an industrial, just get the watch out of the shelf. Now, one thing that did came into my attention, which I'm sure everybody's going to be maybe a little concerned about. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but if you were to go into the security tab, you will be presented with two ways to have the phone unlock. As in, like, one would be through a pattern. If you guys remember, it's like you just draw something on the screen and it will unlock, or the good old pin. Now, if you wish to use the Samsung Pay, you cannot use the pattern, even though it gives you an option. But once you even try to switch to a pattern, it'll remove all the credit cards, and basically it'll turn into zero again. So it'll give you a really difficult time to figure out why is it that even the phone is not allowing the watch to receive the new credit card. So you have to basically go into the security, turn the security into none, and then, or should I say, yeah, turn it into none, and then use the PIN code. And by doing that, you'll be able to use the watch both to lock the screen and to pay for Samsung Pay. So I'm sure this is something that you guys are gonna think about the next time you try to set up the phone's security system. Well, if you guys have any question, leave a comment, and do let me know if you need me to dig in a little deeper into this. But by far, that's what I got. And I don't think there's going to be a difference between having a classic or the Frontier, since surprisingly Frontier also has the Wi-Fi only version. And that actually made me think, because I remember when this watch was being introduced, they said there's two versions of it: Frontier, aka the one that has internet, cellular, and the classic. So I was like, well, I kind of like the classic look, but if I want to buy this watch, it'll be for this, and yada yada yada. But now there is the LTE. However, I will let you guys in one more tip here. Now, as you can see, there is 4 models: Classic, Classic LTE, Frontier, and Frontier LTE. There is one more, and it was apparently recently got introduced, and it's called Samsung Gear S3 Frontier Lumina Edition. What does that mean is that you're just going to receive a Frontier with a special band. Apparently it's like a fine leather with a good clasp on it. And let me see, what was the right word they used? Exclusive, watch face. So the difference is that one is going to cost $450, and you don't even get cellular. I mean, this watch is $350, and I'm talking about the one that it's just a Wi-Fi only. This one is $400, and God knows how much you have to pay to, activate and just turn it into a watch. But surprisingly, they will not sell you this watch through companies such as T-Mobile unless you purchase like a line, activation, tax, and all of this and that. But if you want to go ahead and get yourself an Apple Watch that has cellular connectivity, you are able to just buy that unit as a hardware, as an accessory. I don't see why the support for Samsung is so bad, but I would say this phone is 10 times more capable of doing tasks, and since the hardware is so powerful comparing to Apple. But then again, when I actually put these two next to each other, as in like Apple Watch and this one, I really like I really dig the Apple Watch user interface. It's smooth. And yes, let me take a moment and do point out that I don't care what people say about this watch. This watch is slow. The refresh frame rate is really low comparing to Apple Watch. I mean, again, this is right now I'm recording right now on a 60 hertz frame, and if I were to like move quickly, it'll stutter. So yeah, I'm not gonna accept this. And maybe the screen quality is better, but this watch is slow. So go figure. Again, guys, let me know if you need me to dig into something a little deeper. Thank you for watching. And guys, one last thing. These watches was been returned many times, and when you're purchasing, I have a feeling 40% of the time you're gonna get your hand on someone's returned, not refurbished, I hope, but returned. Like just like in my case, I received this watch and I could see these little details of, hair being under the plastic that is placed down here, and a lot of other things. I mean, it kind of gave me a bad feeling about it, but not on this one. On these, the LTE, since they are being sold quickly. By the way, you may not be able to pick up one of these easily through a retail store, which, by the way, I highly encourage you guys to get it through a retail store, because the possibility of it being returned is much less than getting it through phone. You never know what they have on the warehouse and they're gonna send it to you. Again, I try to give you as much information as I can, guys. I hope you like it, and if it helps you in any way on your next purchase, I'm glad that I could be helpful. Leave a comment, like, and have a good night, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, blah blah blah. By the way, remember that presentation stand that I talked about? Once you open the box, I mean, just look at it. See, they're both classic, but that one is the one that it's a Wi-Fi only. I would say it's the first generation that came out, and once you open it, you're gonna see the watch standing facing you, all good looking. But look at the industrial version. I mean, I don't even care that this box survives. However, with all these negativity towards the box, I would say one thing honestly. It's much easier to pack and have all your stuff back in the box on this one than rather this. As much as it's so big, but the volume of how much you can actually work with is like this much, and it's much less than that. So I kind of prefer this one.